You doing? Just been to Tokyo and Singapore in the last, been back about 5 days. Wow, man, unbelievable. Thousands of people out in the street, living in the boxes on the sides of roads right in the centre of Tokyo. Parks have got one spot, I think they had about 2,500 people. I was there over Easter, so some local Christian people. Japan doesn't have a very high Christian population, so I don't know if they even knew what he was talking about, but they certainly knew the food was in the back of the trucks. This Jesus fella, he's not too bad, you know. He's got them trucks there with the food in the back, so they sat there very quietly listening and attentively listening and given the benefit of the doubt. They may have been Christians. But wow, it was quite something. It was breathtaking to see. And these are not like you'd see in a Western civilization where you see the so-called dropouts / bums, alcoholics, drug addicts, prostitutes, long-term criminals living on the streets of our cities. We're not talking about that. We're talking about working or were working people just kicked out on the, well, not kicked out, I think they just got to leave. They just go out and live on the street. They're immaculately clean, most of them. Very neat, orderly, quiet, respectful. They're not out destroying things, damaging things. These are the general population, from what I can understand, what they call a day worker, somebody who comes in and works sort of like has a job maybe on a construction site or helping unload materials for a construction site or some such activity. Walking down, Tokyo can be a bit cold, it's not too bad this time of year, but walk down the street, it's dead, right in the central Tokyo district, CBD, what we would call a CBD here in Australia. People living in boxes on the sides of roads. We've all heard of the cubicle motel hotels in Japan. They make their own cubicle hotel room out of a box cutter and some tape, and they make it, and they're sleeping in the CBD besides in front of these big buildings. And they use a sun reflector you put in your car. When you park your car, use that sort of the air cell type reflective cover to stop the sun getting in. That's often used on the bottom to stop the cold coming up. But unbelievable. When we got into Singapore, Changi Airport, anybody that's been there knows that it is a huge airport. They've just built a $7 billion extension for the A380. We were the only people in that airport. The people on our air flight at 9:40 at night from Perth, Western Australia, we were the only travelling people there. I got off the plane, been to Singapore many times, looking around going like, has something happened? Unbelievable. So, furthermore to the compression, when I was saying recession, depression, compression, man, I'm sort of thinking we're in it. This is the compression. Talked to a couple of people over there. One in particular works in China for a German plastics company. Goes to Japan every 6 weeks, goes to Thailand on a rotation over there. They've got plants and they're selling things maybe every 6 weeks. He says what he's observed is what you're observing, the people in the streets, really has only taken 6 weeks to happen. He said that wasn't to that level when he was there last. So you have, and ports, the port of Singapore, as you fly in over the airport is right near the waterport, of course. There are hundreds, I don't know how many ships laying at anchor with nowhere to go. No, I don't even know if they've got crews on board. They might have one person on there to keep the little Jenny going. But hundreds of ships laid up at anchor. And the port of Singapore, which prides itself on its efficiency, is doing nothing. We flew into Tokyo, the Bay of Tokyo. I don't know how much trade goes through Tokyo, but the port, nothing moving. There might be the odd freighter, loading up some containers. But when we came out of the Singapore airport on the way up to Japan, there was about at least a kilometre of taxis out the front waiting for passengers that weren't there. There were no passengers. Unbelievable. Anyway, I think if this comes, particularly to Australia, there's nothing in your minds, the average Australian, there's no way of explaining this unless you see it with your own eyes, and then you won't understand it because you don't know what the hell you're seeing. But if it comes here, it's going to take, like Kevin Rudd just said today, it's going to be like a wrecking ball. But even that we don't understand, because a wrecking ball's only going to destroy what it's wrecking. This is, I don't even know what words to use to describe it, other than if it's as if all hope has been lost. It's unbelievable. This is just what I've seen, yeah? I know there's other people posting stuff on the internet about the homeless in Tokyo, which is the second, I think it's the most, the highest GDP city in the world or something. While we were there, the Japanese government over the last few years has said if there's Japanese citizens in other parts of the world, you can come back to Japan, we'll look after you, she'll be right. Just told them to piss off, we can't afford to keep you, go back to where you came from. They go, but wait a minute, we're Japs, you told us to come home, now you're telling us to piss off? Mate, you don't do that. Well, let's hope Australia never does that. Anyway, post your comments, particularly people who are seeing this, not if you're listening to the mainstream media. I really think it's being censored. You're not getting the real deal. I think it's way worse than anyone could possibly. It's almost to the point of not being able to comprehend what's happening. Any ideas, any comments, put them up, because I believe the way to get through this is to share information, to share it. If the government start controlling the information, and they may really think it's for our own good. Maybe it is. I think there's brilliant people out there. They may not be in mainstream. They'll have ideas. Put them out there, please. Let's hear what you got to say. And yeah, if I see any more, I'll let you know. Oh, the reason I went to Tokyo, always wanted to go. Singapore Airlines just announced the day or 2 days before we went, half price airfares anywhere in the world. And I said, okay, this sounds pretty good. Let's have a look. But the next stumbling block, accommodation in Tokyo that we might find comfortable. The hotel we stayed at, the ANA Intercontinental, downtown Tokyo, 5-star hotel, normally it's 800 Australian dollars a night. Check what if. We stayed there after the conversion and all the bullshit. That's 800 Australian dollars. Don't forget the yen. We ended up staying there for $237 a night for 2 people. Nothing wrong with the room. No breakfast, no inclusions. And when we got there, they gave us a card. And on that card it said, what we're doing to beat the bust or to beat the downturn. Here's a card, 20% off all our restaurants except one. There's one up the top, some real flash restaurant that they weren't going to cut 20% off. Here's a card, 20% off. What can I say? And remember, I'm probably being in Tokyo, seeing the best of this. Going to Singapore, probably seeing the best of it. So there's a lot probably worse happening. But if that's happening in those centres, yeah, fear in enemies' eyes. Mate, there was fear in their eyes. I think it was beyond fear. I think it was a total loss of hope. Anyway, share the information. I think that's what will get us out of it. Hope to hear from you soon. Thanks. Catch ya.